It's that budget time of year. People have their different hopes, expectations, and we're at the beautiful campus of the Indian Institute of Management here in Bengaluru. Students and faculty joining us here for what their wish list would be. I'll start with you. What would you like to see happening in this particular budget being presented?
I am particularly very excited to see the reforms that government will have for the education sector. Yes, so in the past we have seen a lot of focus on increasing the literacy rate. There has been 17 years of Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, but has it really achieved what it really, what it aimed to? So I would like to see more focus on learning rather than just the literacy, and the shift has to, shift from the infrastructure, building and skill development to increasing the quality both in government schools and private schools.
So the quality itself, and your name is?
Himani, I'm Himani.
So the quality itself, not just about the brick and mortar, but actually what is going into it.
Right, and the more important part would be how this will change from state to state. So there are states which are doing very good when it comes to education. Let it be, the south state like Kerala and Tamil Nadu, they're doing fairly well. But when we talk about states from Bihar and Jharkhand, where the literacy rate is really bad, the focus needs to be different, the policies needs to be different.
How do you see the budget helping in this, in terms of allotment of funds or a different focus?
Yes, so the allotment of funds has been very disappointing when it comes to education sector. So a greater percentage of the budget can be allocated to education, and also a focus on teacher training or skill development, which is needed to build the foundation of education is needed.
All right. And what's your name and what would you like to see in this budget?
My name is Shanki Jaiswal. In the budget, I would like the budget to focus on real estate sector as well. So real estate sector has not been conferred as an industry till now. So, and because of that, what we see is that the cost of borrowing is really high for the developers. Okay. So when it comes to developers, there should be a lower cost of borrowing. Along with that, focus on affordable housing for the poor would be would provide a stimulus for the people of the country when they want to buy homes.
Okay, so you'd like to see an announcement of change in borrowing criteria for the...
Right, because due to demonetization, the sector has been particularly badly hit, and I think if they want to provide a stimulus to the buying of homes and to the sector at least, then there has to be some incentives and shops provided to this industry.
Your name and what do you
My name is Saurav. I would like the budget to focus more on private capital investment. If you see the share of capital investment as a percent of GDP, it has consistently declined over the past 5 years by almost 5%. And most of the industries like cement, auto, steel, they have been badly hit. Their the capacity utilization are very low, and more so because of the demonetization. So what the government can do is push public investments, which in turn will increase the income purchasing power in the hands of the rural households, which in turn will boost the private consumption and will create demand for consumption goods and will increase the capacity utilization and then again boost the investment by the private sector.
More investment, okay. What would you like to see? What kind of announcements would you like to see in this context?
So the government has been in the past 2 budgets have been focusing more on roads. I would like to see more allocation towards housing also.
Housing as well.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Professor Rupa Chanda, economics professor here at IIM. What would you think would make a good addition to this budget?
Well, actually, I echo what the previous speaker has said, the student has said, because I think there is a tremendous need for a big push in terms of public infrastructure, and the sectors I would focus on are transport, logistics, and they are very closely integrated with the whole issue of ease of doing business, because we need to really develop on the roads, the railways, the inland waterways. So there are various plans there, but we need much more concrete action. And it's not just about allocation of funds, it's also about innovative ways in which you can actually bring the public and the private sector together. So that's one area. I think the other area is really construction and housing, which has also been mentioned. And, you have a yojana there. And again, whether you do it just from the supply side or you also try to incentivize people in terms of getting access to housing, both have to be worked on together. So maybe on the income tax side also in terms of reliefs for people on interest deductions and so on, as well as on the, income tax relief on the real estate side.
Okay. So both ways, from both sides actually. And your name, what would you like to say?
Yeah, hi. So my name is Nitesh. I think ever since the government came in, they brought in Niti Aayog, and the concept of competitive cooperative federalism between all states came in, wherein we see all states are focusing on attracting industries. They are having business summits. So a lot of focus has been on the business side of it. And especially after demonetization, now since the government and the banks have a lot of money, I think time is right to focus on our social services sectors, which is education and healthcare. So allocation has to go up to 6%. Last year, Subramaniam committee came up and they gave a report and said that 6% allocation has to go up immediately. And then they also suggested measures like setting up Indian education services and stuff like that. So I think education and healthcare, now the time is right, the funds are there, and I think we should really focus on these sectors, because without government push, and since states are also involved, right, states should start competing on these subjects as well, apart from competing on the business side of it.
Yes, exactly. We have a ranking on ease of doing business, but in terms of education and health, there is no fierce desire to do better than the others.
So the government needs to push competition in this sphere as well among states. So, and as rightly pointed out, the quality of education. So we have a midday meal scheme. They talked about extending it and stuff like that. So I think also open for universities like ours. So we should probably be doing research studies in the local area. So there's a hub and spoke model which they talked about, so that the university has to introduce some local education, so that we concentrate on the area around our campus. So if all the universities do this kind of sums, so basically education reforms, healthcare reforms and stuff like that.
Wonderful. That would certainly be of use. Professor Vivek Moti, what would you like to see in the budget which would make a difference?
Well, I have a perennial wish on the budget itself, which is we should separate the budget as a statement of accounts from the policy making. By putting them together, it's inevitable you get into the nitty-gritty of the numbers of the last year and the future year, and the long-term, big-picture thinking, which needs to be debated slowly and steadily in different fora, that goes by the wayside. And more specifically on that, I don't think we have looked at, in terms of fiscal responsibility, there are two ways to go about it. One is a fiscal deficit control, and the other is expenditure control. And India has moved in the direction of deficit control, where some countries moved in the direction of expenditure control. The US moved in that direction. So with expenditure control, it's more sustainable, because what we are doing is we are constantly raising more taxes to meet a higher level of government expenditure, and which is partly why we have gone after black money. If you had moved in 2003 to expenditure control, then your fiscal condition would be better, and you won't have got into this, what I call, damaging attack on black money, which ultimately, apart from sense of inequality and all that, is motivated by the need to raise taxes. You know, so I think
trying to get funds for an ever increasing expenditure, and demonetization is damaging.
Yeah, okay, no, let's not. I just mentioned that because we are talking the budget, and with regard to even spending, because again there is this infrastructure is a mantra that we should spend more, we should spend more. That has different components, and one component which is the biggest is roads. And we are always talking about building more roads, but we don't talk about pricing the using of roads effectively. So we need a massive congestion charging, and I've advocated for 10 years a tax on vehicle area, because a car is basically mobile land, and you must start charging people for the mobile land that they're buying. And it has tremendous scope for raising revenue.
And particularly in a city like Bengaluru, where we see the congestion at every single...
Firstly, this is a global problem, and it's all over there. It's a little more here because we have, but there's nothing specific about Bangalore or about India in this context. I mean, these are sort of global issues. But on the budget itself, I think now the railway budget has been dispensed with. And the budget itself is the importance given to it is a legacy of the license Raj. When every tax rate, every customs duty, all those things matter. Once those things don't matter, then all you need is a statement of accounts. You don't need this annual what is my tax rate thing. And separately, there should be 1 month when they release, say, economic survey, discuss policy, and so on.
Separated.
Totally separated.
But of course, a tax on vehicles or a tax on that would not be extremely popular. Do you think that the elections being around the corner might...
Yeah, well, I mean, actually, it has to go hand in hand with policy of deregulating the commercial passenger vehicle sector. It has taken Uber and Ola to make us realize that we have a transport license Hafta Raj running in India. You cannot take one of these minivans and moonlight in the night, sometimes these commercial buses. So the commercial passenger vehicle sector, again, this is across the world to some extent, is not prevented from functioning. And it has taken Uber and Ola to make us realize that there's a transport license Raj there. And again, Uber and Ola are more vehicle aggregators. I think what we need are passenger aggregators. So if you allow minivans and minibuses to operate, I think they'll do a splendid job of taking people across at different points of time. But that needs to be deregulated.
That's a very interesting suggestion, a whole different structure for the budget itself.
I'll just summarize, but these things cannot be done overnight, and you should not even be, it's sort of, in a way, bringing them up in the context of budget is to throw people away from how much is revenue deficit, how much. You need to look at those numbers, but do it as a budget accounting exercise, bringing in the accountants and the IRS and so on, and separately have big picture, blue sky thinking on that.
Two totally separate issues. Absolutely, yes. Your name and your suggestion.
Hi, I'm Raj. Taking a cue from what Professor said, I think privatization should be given a big push. What I feel is the business of the government is not business. So they should come out of the sectors where they are not very efficient. One important thing is the power sector. If you see power sector, it's a great surprise that India is a power surplus country. But still we feel shortages. That is because of the inefficient grids and the outages. So if you were to privatize this and introduce competition, then that will improve the efficiency of the sector. Privatization in the generation is there right now. But that, in fact, is creating more trouble than good. Because of shortage, they generate and sell at a higher rate to the state. So that is not helping us. If you introduce privatization at distribution level, that will fix all inefficiencies and thefts. So that, I think, is a big thing we can do.
I'd like to see that kind of announcement then in the budget. And your name and your suggestion.
Hi, I'm Naya. So my view is that the budget should be having some decrement in the individual income tax. This is having both way impact. One is short term because right now we have to stir up consumption. Due to demonetization, it has decreased to a large extent. And there is psychological impact because of it, which is impacting consumption. So to bring out the change in consumption, I think individual taxes would be the most efficient. And
So more cash in hand then for people.
Yes, exactly. And for long-term prospects also, it is like if we are having lower taxes, people would be showing their income more. So to bring in the actual motive of demonetization into implementation, the decrement in individual income tax is necessary, according to me.
Yeah, that would be popular. That would be a popular suggestion. For the few people who do pay income tax in the country, it would be popular. Your name and your suggestion.
So hi, I'm Digvijay. So with the jury still being out on the demonetization and the government trying a change in narrative to the digitalization. So one area that I feel that the government would still focus upon and try to push is the digitalization space. And in the digitalization space, they can incentivize, I think, the sector through giving the various incentives in the form of tax benefits on non-digital transactions, and they launched recently a lottery system on all digital transactions, or some other schemes and incentives to incentivize the shift to a cashless form of economy.
So that in the budget would perhaps move towards, like you said, the change in narrative towards digitization of the economy. And your name and your suggestion.
Yeah, I'm Ravi. So probably in all the budget talks, probably one thing which we have overlooked so far is the railway budget has been merged with this budget. So my expectation from the railway thing, if you see in the September 2014, government came up with increasing the charges, the passenger train charges, up to around 14.2%, if I'm not wrong. And then later on, they also introduced the dynamic pricing for the express trains like for Rajdhani, Duronto, and Shatabdi. So if you still travel in the train and if you go in the sleeper class compartments or even the AC third class compartment, you hardly get to see any noticeable change in the services. For example, the food, probably kind of food which you are expecting from the pantry, the cleanliness of the toilet, that is the most important thing. And if you leave the few metro cities and their stations, you hardly find a proper drinking water and sanitation and all those stuffs. So I would expect from this government, this budget, so they should come with some form plus. Just merely introducing, bullet train will not help this, because bullet train, anyway the fare for the bullet train could be even higher than the air tickets. So I don't think that will touch the majority of the people. So government should come with a very strong plan. They are generating good revenue from this increment in the fare hikes. So they should come something very strong which can really help in these sectors, railway sectors.
And just an overall thing, who is optimistic about the budget? Who do you feel it'll really make a difference? You think it'll make a change?
I have high hopes for it.
Yeah, I think it's a mid-budget for the government, and I think from that perspective they should do a lot.
You are hopeful?
I think with elections around the corner, they should announce a lot of populist measures.
Yeah, after demonetization, this is going to be a populist budget.
Populist budget. Your thoughts, ma'am?
I'm a bit concerned. I mean, populist, yes, but I think they shouldn't take the excuse of demonetization to risk creating an inflationary sort of budget, because there's a lot of uncertainty out there in the global economy and with oil prices rising. So all these sort of measures you're hearing.
Like Obama's peace prize, I wish our hopes translated into good budget.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, cautiously optimistic in the post-demonetization, like because the government should not sacrifice long-term sustainability on the altar of demonetization. Yeah.
I also look forward to optimistic budget.
Yeah, the budget itself should not be bad because they've had some good tax revenues coming in, although a lot of it is because of the excise duty on petroleum and so on. So the numbers I don't think will show pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah, so they can
You
be
are fairly...
on just this budget, on just the recent numbers.
I guess the budget will be populous. The one fact which I can give is that you can see the date of the budget, which is, I mean, ahead of all the 5 states elections. So I guess it will be populous budget, but which should not be in the case, especially after the demonetization. I guess government should come with some firm plan to increase the consumptions as well.
Thank you so much. Well, hopes and very valid suggestions here from students and faculty at the Indian Institute of Management in Bengaluru. And of course, the proof of what is actually going to be announced in that budget, we'll all be waiting to hear what that is. With DM Kumar, Maya Sharma in Bengaluru for NDTV.